Professor Pascal Griset, you are coordinator of the Horizon 2020 InsSciDE project on inventing a shared science diplomacy for Europe. Professor, which are the main global challenges science academies can help addressing through diplomacy today?
Yes, we are challenged by many global issues, and this project is supposed to find a new solution, new organization and new processes in order to have science more deeply involved in diplomacy at different levels, but mostly at the European level. The project begins with two hypotheses. The first one is that will be difficult to have a European diplomacy even in science, because to work together in Europe is a real challenge also in different fields of activity. So we prefer the term shared science diplomacy, because we think that in a first step maybe different nations will have to share values, to share methods in order to develop a European science diplomacy. Our second hypothesis is that it's difficult to communicate between scientists and diplomats. They are involved in different activities, they are part of different communities, they use different vocabularies, so the project will try also to have the practitioners, scientists and diplomats, engaged in our process in order to, we hope at the end, have a common language.
The project also deals with very important issues such as science for cooperation or science for peace, but of course science can also be used to feed technology for war. How does your project fit in this scenario?
Well, we are aware that as historians that science or technology are deeply involved in the process of war, at least since the 20th century. It was already the case before with different technologies, but science was involved in war in the 20th century. We think also that it's not possible to divide science on one hand and technology on the other hand. The two fields, through the concept of technoscience, are completely linked, and they are different parts of the same system. So because our project is mostly based on the historical experience, we think that what we learn from the past will be useful in order to address this kind of question. So the reality is that science and technology will be always like the tongue of Aesop, the same coins with two faces, and that the political system, the government, and maybe the non-profit organization and non-governmental organization will have to be engaged in a way that they will be able to use these tools for peace and for cooperation. But we think also that for Europe, the use of science and technology will be an important tool in order to have its own place in the world, to be able to have a dialogue with the United States or Russia or China, with not the strong power at the beginning. Europe is not thought as a power at the present time, but maybe in the future to find new connection with other power in order to find an original and important place in the international system.
And one last question: what are the main outcomes you expect from this project?
Well, the first outcome will be historical knowledge. A big part of the project is dedicated to historical research, so I hope that we will have a real historical grounded knowledge of what is science diplomacy. The second deliverable, in a way, will be a new method in order to have scientists and diplomats coming together around a table in order to have a dialogue and to be able to cooperate in the future. That will not be really a training, but I will say a kind of cross-cultural, cross-fertilization between the two cultures. And the third will be text for the future policy briefs for the European Union that we are supposed to produce at the end of the project.